Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Chris, aka RebelPack92, and you are watching This is the Waypoint, the Star Wars show that you can only watch right here on Waypoint on YouTube.com or podcast services. We've got a fantastic panel today. We're going to be talking about the very first 4 episodes of The Bad Batch, the new animated show exclusively on Disney Plus. Y'all like that intro? I sounded professional, baby. Today,
Hell yeah.
joining me to my right. Sorry, it's mirrored. To my right. The one and only some other Josh.
What are you doing? You can't kill the Jedi. Good soldiers follow orders. That's episode 1, basically.
Those figures are sick, dude.
Those are
Were
Right,
those Bad
Oh
Batch
my
figures?
god.
Yes, dude.
Where'd
Yeah,
you-
is that
Crosshair?
Hunter and Crosshair?
Yes, it's Rambo and Crosshair.
It's Rambo and
Dang.
Hawkeye.
Yeah, basically.
Dude, that's
Directly above me, the one and only Albob875.
Hello.
I thought it'd be longer than that. I took a sip of coffee. I'm sorry. And then rounding out the panel today, the other resident Star Wars expert, the one and only Sir Jim Tasty.
If you want my chain code, you got to buy me dinner first.
Chain code, I hardly know her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, of course, in non-binaries, as always, like all of our other review shows on here, there's no rhyme or reason to this. We're going to talk about what we like about it, what we didn't, how cool everything is, because hot damn, this is the first thing I want to touch on is this show is gorgeous.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow, it's pretty.
I know I sent a chat in our Discord yesterday, but when I was watching that, it's like I feel like in episode 4 they just stepped up the quality.
Mhm.
Because so they've always something I think Clone Wars really started hitting their stride like animation wise around like season 3, and it's not necessarily that the animation itself changed so much as the lighting and environments did.
Yeah.
And every season they've improved on that. 7 was out of this world with lighting, and they somehow took that unbelievably good looking show and made it look even better because all of the visual effects and lighting, especially in this most recent episode, the 4th one, on that new planet, the name I couldn't remember the name of. Pantora.
Yeah, Pantora.
Pantora, I thought was very cool. And you know what? I know we're doing episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4's fresh on my brain. I watched it an hour before we got into this. There's some things there I really want to talk about, and then we can circle around and go back to episode 1 if you guys are feeling that. I just want to get it while it's fresh in my head.
Let's do it.
So first off, I love the planet Pantora. It was very, very cool.
Yeah.
I got some. It's like a cool middle ground between like prequel looking environments. There's still like some original trilogy stuff kind of going on. It also kind of looked a little sequely in that like the marketplace and stuff. I was like, that kind of looks like Galaxy's Edge, and that's really, really cool to see that sort of blending of all of these different styles of Star Wars all coming together in one.
Tiny hint of Coruscant-esque, like
with
all the speeders and all the levels,
big city.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, like Thrawn looking police guards, as well as like the guy from the market looks like definitely reminded me of some of the NPCs you see in the Bounty Hunter game, like that guy who buys Echo during that plotline, which, oh my god, that was such a great like B story, having him pretend to be a droid and Clinker's back.
Which you can tell they've grown from Clone Wars, because that would have been an entire episode.
That would that would have been
that would have been a 4-part episode with Jar Jar Binks if it was. Here they're like, nah, we can do it in 30 minutes.
Yeah,
we'll give him like 5 minutes, and he's just like a C plot basically.
Yeah, very cool. I was a big fan of just like the color palette used in this last episode. Like it was very. It's like despite like lots of like darker environments and that sort of thing, it was still really, really colorful. Lots of oranges, lots of purples, lots of yellows, and I thought that it all looked really, really cool. Helps give that sort of like otherworldly vibe. What were those space pug looking things though? I really want to know the names of those.
Yeah, someone send that to Snowbike Mike like ASAP.
I know, right?
I feel like we've seen those dogs before somewhere. I'm sure we have. I just
that was the thing, and I couldn't place it. I was really hoping that they'd hit up like a canteen or something while they're in there, order a spatchka. just because I love I I can't get over the spotchka since Mandalorian, man. I
Mhm.
want it. I need to have it. We even see the planet where they make it. Um, I also liked the little like Clone War or like clone trooper doll that
Mhm.
Omega finds. Because again, reminded me of the Galaxy's Edge because you can actually get like a stormtrooper doll in that same fashion, and there's like those little bits of continuity and putting those together is just that little thing that Star Wars is so good at. I really
Right.
really enjoyed. And the last thing I'll say before I direct it back around to episode 1, once you guys have some final thoughts on this episode 2, is even in animation, Ming-Na Wen can get it, bro. Even when she's a cartoon. Damn, Fennec
Fennec?
Shand was awesome in this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
Yeah,
she.
I thought. Go ahead, Brett.
Oh yeah, visually, like the animation for her character was just it was out of this world.
Mhm.
And yeah, she did a great job voice acting, and her character did badass things. So it was just awesome all around. Yeah.
Like, bounty hunters are always cool.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
then, I mean, they do the cool thing of seeing somebody that we've seen in live action, like again in animation at a time previous there, and she was stone cold in this episode too. She was murdering people.
Mhm.
Like when they're on the chase and she's hanging off the speeder and she shoots the dude like in the heart. I was like,
Yeah.
Jesus
And
Christ!
he like rams into his like buddy, and they both blow up, and
I
I was like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god!"
was like,
I
fuck, this
like
is a kid's show.
exactly. I like how friendly and like how friendly she was towards Amiga at first, right? And just like it kind of building up the unease, and then it all goes haywire. She of course takes down Wrecker in one hit. Like
Yeah.
they build it up to where it's like, all right, we're gonna get a cool fight, and then she just like outsmarts him, takes him
Record's had it
down.
rough this show, man.
Yeah, yeah, no
Uses
Poor
weight
kidding.
guy.
against him or momentum against him.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Very, very cool.
yeah.
Now, who do we think she was like contacting at the end?
I was really hoping
Mm,
they'd show us, but that also gives me hope that she's going to be like a recurring character.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah,
I was afraid we'd see her once and then that would kind of be it. But it looks like she'll be coming
Right.
back, which is cool.
mhm.
Honestly, I'm not sure.
Because
Yeah,
it
I don't.
could
I don't.
Like the
I,
Empire, maybe. Like maybe she's working for
someone.
Tarkin.
Yeah.
See, I don't think it's the Empire. I think it's a third party, like either some sort of criminal empire, either with the Hutts or somebody
What
else.
what if the Kaminoans hired her
Mm,
to
I can see that.
try and get Omega back?
Yeah.
Mhm. I could also possibly be seeing it being the Syndicate, like Paul
Yeah.
Bettany from Solo,
Oh,
Mhm.
like Red
Maul,
Dawn or
like all
something.
those. Yeah, yeah, Red Dawn, all those jabronis.
One thing potentially against the
Tasu Leech.
Kaminoans is that they did let her go with,
Right.
you know, the Bad Batch. So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but I still could think that because they said she was a special clone, so they could have just be like, hey, no, we actually want her back. So I could see that too.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool
Very
cool
interesting.
episode. I like that. I've seen some people are like, man, it's not really hitting. I thought there'd be more to it. I actually like that overall. The pace of the show is much slower than I was expecting. Like
Yeah.
in a really really good way. I think
Mhm.
it gives us time to really like get to know these characters super well. See
Right.
that bond with Omega. Also, I mean, it's not just like action every little
Mhm.
second. I like that they're like, yeah, this is an animated show, but we're still gonna make this like a much more character driven show than I think really like Rebels or Clone Wars has been.
Mhm.
They definitely
Mhm.
had parts to them where they're this way, but I mean this has a very like even pace throughout, and I'm really impressed
Yeah.
with them kind of easing off the gas a little bit
Right.
and giving everything time to breathe.
I was gonna say
Mhm.
one thing I think that's really cool about the show so far is just giving us that time period that we haven't seen before yet. Like you right after the Empire takes over.
Like
Right.
immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and see how quick they turn. Like you get the credits, you need to turn those in. You get your codes. Like
Mhm.
And I like that they've even like commented on that a couple times too, to where they go outside and they're like, "Wow, things are changing really fast." Like it's
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
because that's always something that people have wondered. It's like, well, how quickly did the Republic become the Empire and
overnight.
like yeah,
Mhm.
immediately is the answer. It
I
was
think
like
that because what
instantly.
episode or was it this episode where it was that parade and it's like it's not
That
even
was
been
this
a week
episode,
yet.
yeah.
Mhm.
Not even been a week. And
The fantastic line too, to where Omega's like, well, what are they celebrating in the Clones Guard at the end of the war? And like, why are you guys upset about that? Like, wouldn't that be a good thing? And Echo's
For
like, well, it
some.
depends on what side you're on.
Right.
And I was just like, damn.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was super fascinating to see with that whole parade because Pantora. I don't think Pantora proper was in the Clone Wars, but the senator and the
Senator
governor
Pantora was, yeah.
were in a couple episodes with and I actually think you see
Oh.
I can't remember what the ice moon is called, but you see it in that shot when they're flying into Pantora. And so you
Right.
know like that planet and that system is like a hardline republic world. And so seeing how
Mhm.
that kind of world reacts to the transformation of the empire, they're all cheering, everything's pretty like, same old, same old. Um
Right.
so that was just like a little like touch of that I really appreciated.
Yeah,
Mm.
I had to go back and look it up. I'm on Wikipedia. It looks like there was like I believe a plot line in the Clone Wars where like the Trade Federation like blockades it at one point and is stopping trade in and out. And
Mm,
yeah, they clearly, yeah, Ahsoka Tano prevents their homeworld from joining the Confederacy of Independent Systems. And so it makes sense that now later they're like celebrating like the clones and
Mhm.
the Republic becoming the Empire and that sort of thing because they saved them from the CIS. And that's actually a
Right.
really, really nice touch that I'd kind of forgotten.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's damn Star Wars, you're so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um
Filoni has
also
the keys now. We're good.
I
All set.
know.
Yeah.
I think he
No.
already did, and they were like, we're gonna give him the title.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I'm pretty
They
sure
yeah.
he was already doing
Oh, I'm
he was
sure.
already like ahead of creative or whatever, and then they were like, you know what, let's just change your title,
Make it
probably give you a
official.
pay bump. But yeah,
Mhm.
hopefully it might mean that he's got like a probably like a little more of a hand on like live action stuff like Mandalorian and that sort of thing, be a little more involved in the stories of those too, which would be cool.
Mhm.
Mm,
Mhm.
Which makes sense because I mean he's going to be like in charge of Ahsoka, I believe, when that
Right.
show comes out, and so yeah, having him more involved in those because they're his characters and storylines, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's go back because I'm dying to talk about first up. So May 4th, right? Star Wars Day. They're like, hey,
Mhm.
brand new show, Bad Batch. We're taking these characters that debuted at the end of season 7 of Clone Wars, and we're giving them their own show that starts. The show starts with the Order 66 sequence,
mm.
where we see
Yeah.
one Caleb Doom,
I forgot about
AKA
this. I forgot about this.
AKA Kane and Jarrus. Which technically, so there is a comic series out there that came out like a couple years ago that actually shows like when the clones like turned on Kanan, and it's a little different than it is in the show. But I mean, shows over comics, that's the new canon now. But it was fairly close. Like it wasn't
Mhm.
crazy in the comics. They were around like a campfire or something, and then they get the order and they turn. Whereas this one, it's just they're on the battlefield instead. Like a lot
Right.
of
They're at
nerds
the
are crying
fight.
about it. I didn't think it was a big deal.
Mhm.
But I was not ready for Kanan to be in the show at all. Like
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
even a little bit, and to the point where he comes down and his master is like, Caleb's returned, and I was like, that's a funny name for a Jedi. I was like, that's a really like white boy ass name. You know what I mean? I was like, that's just a
Mhm.
plain. I know lots of Caleb's, right? You know?
Yeah.
I don't know any
Mhm.
Kanans, but I know Caleb's. And he starts talking, and I'm like,
It sounds like a
that's
40-year-old man.
familiar voice. He's like, he sounds older, but I was like, whatever, it's voice acting.
Mhm.
And I was like, but I was sitting there, I was like, his voice sounds a little familiar. And then he pulls out the lightsaber, and then I went, wait a minute. I was like, I know that lightsaber. I was like, and like, then everything like clicked, and I went, oh shit! I like jumped off the couch. I was like, oh my god! And Brittany was on a call at work. She was like, what are you screaming about? I was like, Kate is in the show. She hasn't seen Rebels. She didn't even. I had to explain it all to her. And she was like, okay. And I went, yeah,
Mhm.
it was a cameo. Anyway, I got very excited about it. It was very cool.
Yeah.
But I think the most interesting facet to me of this show is a plotline that starts right in episode 1, which is that of course all the clones have chips in their brains
Mhm.
that allowed the
Inhibitor
Empire
chips.
to the inhibitor chips that essentially allowed them to kind of not necessarily mind wipe, not necessarily like possess, probably isn't the right word, but I mean control the clones and make sure that they followed orders. And the chips don't work in Clone Force 99 as they are experimental and heavily modified clones, with the exception of Crosshair.
Mhm.
What a fantastic dynamic! Like I
Yeah.
was going into this, I was not expecting like one of the Bad Batch to kind of be like not the antagonist, but an antagonist in the show,
Right.
Right.
which is just very, very cool. But you can also tell that it's like this sort of like he doesn't want to be doing what he's doing, but at the same time, like he also kind of does because good soldiers
Mhm.
follow orders. And when they brought that back up in episode 3, holy shit!
Yeah. Yeah. Episode 3, I was like, no, this dude wants to be doing this. Like, this dude has no remorse. He
Yeah.
just
Well, they
that dude in the
experimented on it even
back.
more,
So-
so
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
they amplified it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So real quick with the whole Caleb thing, that was super smart to do to feature him. Now, yeah, they changed his story a little bit. You know, here neither here nor there, but it was super
Whatever.
smart to do because we've seen Order 66 so many times,
Mhm.
and so they needed another hook to get people
Mhm.
invested into this happening again. You know,
Mhm.
from a different perspective. So having Caleb Doom be that Padawan as opposed to
Yeah.
a random Padawan.
Yeah, yeah. I think it hits a little harder.
It instantly gets the hardcore fans to buy in immediately,
Right.
right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
we all know, like everyone knows who, or like everyone who watches Rebels knows who the Kanan Caleb Doom is, and yeah, with Crosshair too, like it was so fascinating seeing how the inhibitor chip influenced him initially, even initially with the
Mhm.
call.
Right.
And then in season 4 or in this last episode, I think Wrecker is starting to feel a little woozy because he kept complaining about like
So-
headaches
He
and
had a
stuff.
headache in episode
So,
3. Yeah.
this is something
And
I
he's holding like the side where they've
think-
shown where the chip is.
I think
Mhm.
I can't remember if it was episode 3 or episode 2. He got hit in the head really hard too. So
I
then
think it was 3.
Right.
It's the one where they crash land on the moon.
Yeah,
Oh
he
yeah,
gets hit
okay.
there
Yeah.
again in
Yeah.
the same spot, and then now this episode he gets hit in the
And,
same spot
and now
again.
he took another shot to the head.
So I know I've been listening to the Kind of Funny reacts too, and they're kind of thinking like, what if Wrecker?
Oh man,
Big.
not a Wrecker.
Which
Yeah, I'm on
imagine
board.
that being like a slow turn. Oh,
Yeah.
like over time, like he slowly starts like giving into the chip and starts turning. And I'm just like, I don't think my heart can take that, man.
No.
Because I mean, they're showing like how close he's getting with Omega and
Mhm.
Omega, and he's just like it's like despite like being large and violent, he's also just like this like really gentle
Big
like
softy.
big
Big teddy
softy,
bear.
yeah. and but that I like Wrecker a ton.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was annoying in Clone Wars, but I think they've really redeemed him for this show.
Yeah, that's what the show's done so well is, and I noticed it in episode 4. I mean, it's been pronounced in each episode, but
Mhm.
they're really expanding these characters to be more than just clones and more than just kind of that characterization that we got in the Clone Wars arc where like Wrecker was just wrecking everything. Crosshair was just hitting insane snipes all the time.
Mhm.
Hunter was like, sniffing the air and finding out where like the Neomoidian general was, or it's like they're really expanding these characters way beyond what I thought they could be. But yeah, never doubt Dave Filoni.
There's also lots of like little touches that I'm really liking, like with Tech. I mean, he was like initially he was just like, I'm the brainy guy, I'm smart, I can do things with technology and that sort of thing, and I like which I was like, yeah, that's fine. It's not the most interesting thing in the world, but it works for when they need it to, up until the point where they crash land on the moon, and like they're saying like something's broken, and he's like, oh no, don't worry, it's perfectly safe, and then like the ship like starts crashing, and then they're like, what the heck? You said it was fine. He's like, we'll be fine. He's like, we're protected. I didn't say anything about the ship.
Mhm.
And so I was like, that's a really nice touch to kind of turn around and being like, technically he's correct. And
Right.
it's like that will be okay, but I mean, like his actions still kind of put them in that situation because he didn't quite explain it that way, and I was like, that's a cool, nice little thing that I like in there. Just kind of like really starting to open up these characters a bit more outside of just like their abilities, essentially, and
Right.
really give them personalities. Of course, we don't necessarily need that with Echo, who's had plenty of screen time in Clone Wars.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think they've just done a really really good job about breaking down and kind of expanding more on who the Bad Batch are and really making you feel for them. And I like that they've kind of explained like what their abilities are just a little bit more too, because I don't think they ever really said that Hunter in Clone Wars season 7, like his ability was like, hey, this dude's like a wolfhound. Like this man can fucking track people like nobody's business. And I was like, I didn't know what his ability was. I thought he was just the leader of the team.
Same
I
here.
thought he tracked that group of droids or whatever to that outpost
Yeah,
when they
maybe
were.
it's. I need to go watch it again.
Yeah, me
Mhm.
too.
That's the one thing I'm missing from this show was in that first episode with the Bad Batch when they go into the tower, they have that one like long continuous shot of them going through the whole thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I need more no cut shots in this show, man.
Yeah.
That's something that's, I think I told you guys that I've been going back and rewatching Rebels. I'm
Mhm.
about 10 or 11 episodes into season 2 right now. And it's been
Mhm.
really cool having that dynamic, like, watching that and then seeing Bad Batch, like that transition from clones to stormtroopers and just the
Yeah.
Empire's just starting up versus Empire already being in control.
Okay,
Mhm.
I'm so glad you brought this up because I have a theory that I want to talk about with you guys.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Uh-oh.
in I believe it was episode 3 when Tarkin's friend, whatever, puts together.
Yeah,
He's
their
like, "Yo, I've got
admiral.
this team." Yeah, thank
Rampart.
you, Admiral. Yeah, Rampart. Thank you. God, I couldn't remember his name.
We're here
Um,
to talk about Rampart.
so Rampart puts together this team of like elite commandos, right? Like
Mhm.
he's like, "Yo, we're gonna prove that our normal conscripted soldiers can be better than these clones, but we're gonna have a clone as the leader to train them." And so they match him
Right.
up with Crosshair, and they're like, "We're gonna make them do the same mission that Bad Batch failed in the first episode." they they get this dope fucking shot where the ship opens up and they've all got brand new armor on and stuff. And I noticed something. I was like, the lenses on their helmets are green.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Everything's all black, and these are like elite stormtroopers. You know what I mean? These are the best of the
Yeah.
best, right? I'll talk about the character moment that happens in the camp later. But I'm looking at that and I'm like, these motherfuckers kind of look like death troopers. And then I was
Yeah.
like, hold on. They're talking about like eventually like modifying these guys and that sort of thing. And then I was like, in the expanded universe stuff, there's I forget which book it is, but they mention how the Death Troopers are trained and they're kind of like Spartans in Halo, to where they're genetically modified. They're enhanced stormtroopers, and then I'm like, fuck, are we seeing the beginnings of the Death Troopers in fucking
Oh.
Bad Batch?
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
Hot damn!
Yeah, I thought the same thing too. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like the whole green visor, like,
Mhm.
yeah,
So
that
sick too.
it,
Their
Yeah.
armor was
Mm.
dope.
Yeah.
'cause
Mhm.
crosshairs wasn't always green; it was red, right? Along
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
Yeah.
flesh
It wasn't
color
until like
scheme.
the end of the first episode when he comes out all
Mm.
evil and they have that showdown that he's like
Mhm,
fully wearing the black and with the green visor.
mhm.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and then yeah, Rampart's crew all had like his clone style armor, but it was the black with the green and everything to match Crosshairs. It was very,
Mhm.
very cool
that
looking.
was that was like, and this is such a small shot, but
More Black Series figures we'll never get.
that shot of them in their shuttle flying to Onderon, and you just see them in the hangar, just holding it. It's like you're getting stoked for like these bad guys doing do bad things. You're like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, they look so freaking cool, man.
I know
Yeah.
it's like just me and the boys about to go commit war crimes. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Mhm. Let's go
Uh,
Now,
shoot up Saw Gerrera.
before this episode or episode 3, I think. Yeah, because that was episode 3. So,
Mhm.
I saw a tweet of somebody saying that this is, the darkest thing Star Wars ever put out. I'm like, okay, you're setting up like, darker than Empire. It's like all that. I'm like, okay, you're setting up because I hadn't seen it at this point. And I'm
yeah.
like,
Mhm.
I see that's like, oh, I mean, yeah, that's dark, but I don't know if I'd call that darker than Empire.
Dude, when the shuttle was taking off, I was like, okay, some are getting away. And then I think it was Crosshair who shot the dude in the chest, and then it
Yeah.
just goes. I'm like, they're done. They're done.
Yeah.
I was
I
like,
was like, yeah,
wow.
they're toast. They did not
Yeah.
live.
No.
Those people died.
It was
Mhm.
super fascinating. I want to know y'all's thoughts on when the regular troopers were like, "Hey, Like
Like
we
this
don't
is
need to
fucked
kill.
up.
We don't need to kill these people. They're civilians.
Mhm.
Let's just take them in, and we'll question them and all that. And then in Crosshair was like, no, we gotta we
No,
gotta
we gotta
murder
blast
Good
them.
their
soldier
ass.
follows orders.
Mhm.
Which that might be my favorite uh like scene in the whole show so far. Just
Yeah.
for I mean, just like the tension within that episode, the kind of character development. I don't know if necessarily the right word for Crosshair, but I do think it is an interesting point in the story. I think it's really again like showcasing more how the Empire like became the Empire in
Right.
did all of that. And yeah, it was super interesting to see stormtroopers who they're the bad guys, right? Like stormtroopers are the bad guys, but even stormtroopers are like, nah, this is fucked
It's kind of
up.
fucked up.
Yeah. Like we're not gonna kill kids, and then Crosshair's like, all right, blap.
And then makes the
Like
other
hot
3 kill
damn.
him. Yeah.
Like we didn't get any
Shout out to that
names.
one guy with the flamethrower, by the way, because
Oh my
Jesus
gosh,
Christ,
that
dude.
was so cool. We didn't get any names for those people, right?
I don't think so.
I can't
No.
remember.
Not that I
But yeah,
recall.
the fact that they
Mhm.
were questioning orders already, I wonder if the takeaway from this is because of Crosshair's like dogmatic leadership and adherence to the rules and order, like the orders that they were giving, like if that's just him instilling those values into those soldiers to again later carry out for future missions.
I think that's supposed to be the idea, right? Which is
Mhm.
because it's cheaper for them to not make clones, but but obviously humans aren't going to be as obedient as the clones are, and so by taking like a small handful of modified clones and using them to train regular soldiers, I think they're hoping that the clones will like sort of like beat that into to new
Mhm.
recruits till until that eventually becomes just uniform when you join.
Right.
Which is really fascinating, I think, because I
Mhm.
mean it's one of those things to where there have been some expanded universe stuff that takes place like from the perspective of a soldier too, and sometimes I mean it's like people are stormtroopers because they need a job,
Right.
they're
That
like
Mhm.
whatever.
that was huge when they were in the medical bay before the mission, I think. And
Mhm.
I which one died? Which one got killed by Crosshair? Because they were all
The,
wearing
The
like,
the
arrogant
helmets.
bald-headed
one.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the really
Yeah.
talkative one.
So okay,
uh
I think I can't remember if it was that guy because there was the two dudes that looked similar.
it
But
was
one
it
of
was one guy, the one guy kept like clowning on clones the whole
Yep.
time. He's like, fuck you,
Yeah.
I'm better, whatever, like
But he
that
was the
sort of
first to
thing. Yeah.
question, like, why do we need to kill these people?
Yeah.
okay, so and I can't remember if it was that guy or if it was the other dude that was like, yeah, like the Empire gave me this job, like that whole dynamic of and it's this is super layered, so I don't even know if I can talk about it all, but instilling a clone army and then having
Mhm.
the regular people who can fight either fight or be be helpless in this conflict, and then extending that hand to give them a purpose after the war to bring them into the fold of this new regime is like it's just so layered. It's crazy. I love it.
And then yeah, they're not like beating you over the head with that sort of thing too, especially when I mean like the episode after that, you see they're having like a parade for the Republic on this planet that was saved by the Republic that's now the Empire, and so it's like why wouldn't these people want to go join and become a stormtrooper? It's like hey like the Empire did things for me during the war.
Right.
Like it's we owe them our planet, we owe them our lives, like whatever. It's like why wouldn't I go and join? And it's just such a cool dynamic to really show how the Empire managed to control so much, such
Mhm.
Mhm.
a long reach, and it's really really cool that we kind of get to. It's stuff that you're kind of told like everywhere else, but now they're just showing it to you, and they're doing, and I think they're also doing it in a way like the actual execution of it is really in a show don't tell kind of way too, where they're not just flat out like stating, hey, we're gonna go do this thing on this planet because they owe us, and then hopefully they'll become stormtroopers and join us. Like you just see these things happen, which I think is really really cool, and it's so well done in just about every aspect. I don't think there's a bad thing about this show so far, personally. Like I mean, it's
Mhm.
everything's got a lot of purpose. Maybe I was gonna say, well, maybe not chasing after the light, like the battery on the moon had a purpose, but then I was like, nope, because that was character development for Omega, and it totally
Mhm.
still did stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
Which okay, so we need to talk about Omega now, right? Because we
Oh
haven't
yeah.
yet.
Who's she a clone of?
I mean,
I
it's got to
think
be Django.
I think Django.
She's got the New Zealand.
Mhm.
I wonder.
Omega.
I wonder if it's something. Um, and they touched on it in the last episode where they were. Or it was was it episode 3 or 4 where the Kaminoans were like, "Hey, like we gotta cook something up just in case this goes south." It was 3.
3.
So I wonder if Omega is like a Django clone, but then also like
Like other things.
something like somebody else was mixed in
Right.
there too. You know, like
Some other
Luke
Luke
Mandalorian.
Skywalker. Luke Skywalker's hand is floating
God.
on Camino.
Oh no,
Who was Obi-Wan's love interest, like in Clone Wars? 'Cause
Satine.
Satine.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
looks a little. Can see a little bit of that.
Mm.
Okay, yeah. I remember.
She's long dead at this point, though.
Yeah,
Satine is.
Right, but I mean, just need
Spoilers.
some DNA.
yeah.
I
Unless Jango
saw.
ran it with her.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how the timeline is, but somebody I remember seeing a comment on some trailer, something of saying Omega was Phasma, and I was
about
like,
to bring up
Oh
the same point.
no!
which I don't even know
Yeah.
if that could work, but like,
No, it couldn't.
Mhm.
'cause-
Yeah, no-
It's too far back.
Yeah.
yeah,
Phasma's not that old.
Because it's 20 years
Yeah.
until A New Hope,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
all the
I mean,
events of that
because
trilogy.
Phasma would be like 60 by the time that you hit
yeah.
like
But
The Force
she is
Awakens.
modified, you know. She could have slowed age. Slowed
She
aging.
she could, but there's also a Phasma novel, and she's
Well-
very much not a clone.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember seeing that comment too, and I thought that would be interesting. And then yeah, timeline doesn't match
Yeah,
up
it
there.
doesn't line up. That's
Yeah.
still better than the fucking this stupid ass article that I like reposted on Facebook the other day where it was like new plans for the Mandalorian could show that the next season like continue the story of Rey. Could we see Rey and Grogu together? And I was like, no,
Not at
Rey's not alive yet.
Yeah.
She's not born yet. This takes place right after Return of the Jedi. Force Awakens 30 years later.
Yeah.
maybe the Sheev clone. That's her dad.
People just toss out theories without even thinking about the
Bro, you can just
timeline.
say whatever the fuck you want in comicbook.com and retweet it.
all. Oh
Yeah, yeah.
And they'll be like,
basically, you're
new theory?
Like how
Mhm.
they report on something that Gary Whitta says just casually on Games Daily.
Yeah, exactly.
But he was like, we were thinking about doing this in Rogue One, and then it's like breaking news. Rogue One was originally going to be like this, and it was like, you don't understand how
Mhm.
movies work, my friend.
Yeah.
Um, it's my goal
going
in
back-
life to start a ridiculous Star Wars movie that comicbook.com retweets. Like I just want to say something stupid about Star Wars that makes
Fuck.
its way around the internet.
that should be
That
an
pe-
episode.
that dumbass like fandom menace people believe. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy killed John Favreau or something like that. I mean, now we're just seeing a clone of him. He's not real. He's CG and everything.
Oh man.
Damn.
So we haven't really talked much about this yet, but what are your thoughts on episode 2?
I was
Cut
about
and
to bring
Run.
that up with the Omega stuff, just because, like, I like. Okay, so first of all, that episode was like pretty cliche in the way that like we've seen that story
Felt
in
very
terms
Clone
of
Wars.
It felt
terms
very
of,
Clone
like-
Wars, and it was very. It's not anything like necessarily new, but I also think
Mhm.
it's kind of something that had to happen, and I'm
Yeah.
glad they kind of got it out of the way early.
Quick.
Yeah, that was I was gonna bring up, like, it's like when Joel tries to ditch Ellie in The Last of Us, or like Mando does the same thing with Grogu. It's like, I can't take care of this
Mhm.
person, so you're gonna be better off with these other people. I like
Yeah.
that they got it out of the way first. Really weird that it happens over Omega running a bit past the fence, and Hunter's like, all right, well,
He's like,
we
no,
had
I
to-
can't handle this,
yeah,
bro.
yeah, we had
And
to
I'm
shoot
like, are
the
you
force
a
first
war
ones.
hero? Like,
Exactly. But then I love that like exchange between Hunter and Omega at the end, where she's like, I have a lot to learn, and Hunter's like, fuck, I have a lot to learn. Like, it's I thought that was
Classic.
just like, yeah,
Mhm.
very just great character building, and just like showing that they're willing to take this shot on this kid. And I think that's a great juxtaposition, because
and then
Star
Wrecker
Wars
made her a room on this show.
in like the
Yeah.
next episode, yeah, and that was very that
I-
tugged at the heartstrings.
That's when I tweeted out, it's like, damn it, Filoni, you did it again.
Yeah.
'Cause I talked about it
Yeah,
in
exactly.
the last podcast, where, you know, that scene at the end of episode 1, where she's sitting in the pilot seat, and then she sees
Mhm.
as they go to hyperspace, because the first time she's been out to space, the music wells up. It's like, damn it.
And
And
that was the moment too to where initially like seeing the trailer, seeing the character Omega, I was like, she's gonna join the crew or something like that and end up
Mhm.
with them, and they're gonna have to watch after her, or they're gonna become like father figures to her or whatever. And I was like, wow, they really are just doing Mandalorian again. And so like going into it initially, I was like, I'm sure it'll be fine, but like I'm not crazy about having like that sort of like parent kid dynamic again. And the first episode ended, and I was like, I'm all in this.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
they got me, dude. They did such a great job with it.
Mm-hmm.
She's so endearing.
Right.
Yeah,
And just
I think the big takeaway for 2 was the introduction of the chain code thing, because we saw it
chain
in
code, yep.
Mandalorian. I'm sure it was in some other extended material before that, but just like that's such like such like a government thing to do, is to get you on the hook with saying, hey,
Mhm.
your money's outdated. If you want if you want the new currency, you gotta, you know, I get ID'd and all that. And um
Right.
uh, another thing too I want to bring up is, so we every Star Wars show, pretty much every Star Wars piece of material usually has some sort of force like story
Mhm.
or hook to it. Like, we really haven't gotten that yet. And the closest thing we have is some of the Omega stuff in Episode 1, in the big like kind of mini premiere movie thing, where she can sense, Crosshair's thoughts a little bit and things like that. So do we think that's gonna
Oh, maybe they
be
cloned a
expand-
Jedi.
do we think that's gonna be
Uh,
expanded on with because I like how the show isn't like,
mhm.
lightsabers, flinging around
Yeah.
everywhere. But
Right.
I think the Force is essential to what Star Wars is, and so I do think they have to lean into that just a little bit with wherever they're going with
I'm
this
sure
story.
something will come up, but I mean, technically, it's like while you had like Grogu using the Force a little bit in Mandalorian, like that wasn't necessarily the focus of any of it,
Yeah.
and then it did become the focus of it in season 2, but that's
Yeah.
Right.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, maybe it's like we were talking about it. It's like, who is she a clone of earlier? It's like I could see. It's like, well, she's got some Jango Fett. She's got maybe like another Jedi that's interacted with them at some point, and like their like secret weapon is that they've somehow managed to like create a viable Force clone.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Which Palpatine. You know what I'm saying?
Which
Right.
something I thought is like she naturally was able to like use that blaster pretty well in episode
Mhm.
1
Mhm.
during the getaway.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder
Um,
What a Mary Sue.
if
yeah. What am I say? A woman use a blaster.
How
Mary
dare she?
Sue.
I wonder if bringing that clone Jedi like topic is like very interesting, because
Yeah.
I wonder if the whole special cloning thing with that leading into, whatever, the cloning stuff with Palpatine and Snoke and all that,
Mhm.
and how
Mhm.
could they not, like, if like the Kaminoans, like, I don't know how many Jedi were on Kamino when Order 66 went off, but there's probably a couple.
Mhm.
And so you would have like, I could not see them not like wanting to just extract value from these Jedi in terms of like, harvesting their DNA and cloning them. And because literally in Episode 3 they're like talking about like, yeah, they're still like the clones are still property. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
the way they look at things are so differently than a typical person would. So I could totally see them cloning either a dead Jedi or a live Jedi
Like
before.
they've got
Mhm.
something in. I mean, I can see it as like the Kaminoans. It's like in episode 2, like they make a big point of it as like, yo, those like these are the cloners. These guys do it better than anybody.
Right.
It's like if somebody's gonna figure out how to clone somebody with force powers, it's gonna be the Kaminoans.
Is that their hook,
Right.
you think, to their secret plan, is to clone a
I
Jedi?
th- I feel like that could be something huge. Just like, yo, we made a Jedi. Like, yeah.
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 That would also make sense as to like
Comicbook.com, there you go.
You hear that,
exactly.
comic book? Confirmed. Kaminoans cloning Jedis.
You heard it here first at Waypoint Podcast. Um
It's also confirmed Grogu and Rey will make an appearance later on in the season. So be on the lookout for that.
exactly. But that would make sense for like Omega's like special ability is that she's force
Mhm.
sensitive. So I could definitely
Mhm.
see that
And
happening
and,
in
and
that.
and I think it's something that makes a lot of sense too. Like
But
Mhm.
not
it
but
could go
not
there. I'm interested to learn more about her.
Yeah.
but not and obviously, like, she just I mean, she could get trained, but it's very unlikely
I don't think we're gonna see like throwing stormtroopers around or anything like that.
Maybe
Like,
But
that's why
it
Maul
could be
wants
that
her.
it could be that thing. Oh yeah, it could be that thing of like her Bad Batch like
Comicbook.com.
her Bad Batch hook is like
comicbook.com, Ray and Maul are going to fight in the season finale.
oh my
Grogu's there.
But with the hook of her being force sensitive potentially, I could totally see her like, and they did this in Legends a lot of like Jedi who weren't Jedi, but like had some training and can harness those abilities to a certain extent. Not to the level of it what a Jedi could do, but they could like get a leg up on that. And even Anakin in Episode 1 like was completely untrained but could pilot a pod racer.
Yeah,
So I could totally see
it
them
it,
leaning
it
into
enhanced
that.
his reflexes.
Yeah.
hmm
So I
Uh,
had just an interesting thought.
Okay.
What if they're trying to clone somebody that has, force sensitive force powers? What if they're trying to start the Inquisitor program?
ooh, that could be interesting.
Right.
That
I'm
could be
trying to
really interesting.
Mhm.
think of where
Now,
the Inquisitors are at right now.
I assume
Mhm.
they're being worked on because we know that the vast majority of Inquisitors were
On
Jedi
Jedi. Yeah.
previously. Yeah.
Because the Grand Inquisitor was a temple guard, so I'm
Mhm.
assuming when Order 66 went down, he
And of course, we know Trilla was a Padawan at the time.
Yep.
The ninth sister as well was previously a Jedi.
Mhm.
Um,
Was it the
and I
fifth
think
brother
they've
and
shown
the
a couple
seventh
more in the
sister
comments.
are in
Yeah,
Rebels?
yeah.
Are they all fallen
Interesting.
Jedi? They might
I
be.
s- I assume so because there's
I say
that.
they'd have to be, right? I don't see Vader like necessarily like training somebody to be an Inquisitor specifically. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah,
that
the
wasn't
Star
a Jedi
Killer.
before.
Yeah, they did have some training protocols because in that one I can't remember which issue, but Vader like chops off somebody's hand just because like they
It was
weren't like
ninth sisters, I believe. But
yeah.
but also, yeah. I mean, what I would say is like they got training from. What I would say is I don't see Vader like training
Mhm.
somebody that wasn't a Jedi to become an Inquisitor. I think
Right.
most of the Inquisitors already had some training
Mhm.
Yeah.
before they and then fell to the dark side or whatever. I know we're starting to run up on time here. There's a couple more things I wanna touch on real fast. Although I do like that idea of the Inquisitors and stuff, man. That would be very
Yeah.
interesting.
Being cloned. Yeah.
There's clearly a big focus on Camino and Tarkin kind of button heads a little bit, and
Mhm.
and it looks like Tarkin kind of at the very least he wants to like resume control of the clones, even though they're not necessarily managing production. Tarkin very clearly wants the clones still,
Mhm.
Right.
and Caminos are like, I don't know how I feel about this deal anymore, you know. Um, and so I'm wondering if that's building up to a new canon version of the Camino Civil War, which originally I think we were shown in the OG Battlefront 2,
Oh yeah. Wow, wow,
Interesting.
wow.
where you have like the clone uprising and some that
Mhm.
continue to obey and some not. Now, granted, in that game there were no inhibitor chips. That was before inhibitor chips were a thing.
Mhm.
Um, and so some clones were just like, "Yo, this is fucked up," and other clones were like, "What the? What? We're just doing what we're told." And
Right.
then Boba Fett comes in and kills a whole bunch of his brothers. But
Mhm.
it was a really interesting
Mhm.
storyline. So I think they could potentially be doing something, not necessarily exactly that as we see it in Battlefront. But I
Stormtroopers
mean,
versus clones.
yeah, something very similar to where there's like some form of uprising and kind of like in much the same way that Marvel adapts like a lot of their comic book storylines, like kind of adapting and retooling the old legacy
Yeah.
coming into
I
Civil War.
and this is like totally anecdotal, but with the Death Star with the Geonosians, they
Mhm.
once they built whatever framework of the Death Star, they just wiped them out. They
Yeah,
no trails left behind.
nothing.
And with the Kaminoans, like we really don't see. Obviously, we don't see them in some of the original movies because they weren't created
Mhm.
yet and
Mhm.
things like that. But we don't see any in the sequels. I don't
Technically, you
think.
see one clone in Return of the Jedi, even though it's a
Yeah.
retcon. Even though that's a retcon, but
But
Rex is confirmed to be that old dude in, in Return of the Jedi.
we really don't see
Did not know
Kaminoans
that.
my knowledge of in any extended material post
Yeah,
post prequels really. So I wonder if it's totally like because in the Kamino and
if
Civil
they just obliterate Camino.
because in the Kamino and Civil War, right? They punk them, they sit them
Mhm.
down, and they kind of take over all the production facilities and everything like that, and sideline them. So I could totally see
Yeah.
them exterminating the
Mhm.
Kaminoans or just really just getting rid of them or taking them
Yeah.
out of
Mhm.
those spots.
And then one last thing before we take off is we talked about Admiral Rampart earlier, and in the episode where Rampart forms his crew, he mentions that the enlistment of soldiers into the Imperial Army was codenamed Project War Mantle.
Oh yeah.
Which War Mantle obviously like clearly being like this sort of like these like super special stormtroopers or whatever that are getting trained by clones to be like Black Ops teams or Death Troopers
Mhm.
question mark. Um, but Project War Mantle, of course, was referenced in one Star Wars Rogue One, while
Mhm.
Jin is going through the list of things on Scarif Base. You have like the dark saber, the war mantle, and so that's just again just a nice little touch of continuity. And I mean that's the movie that we first see Death Troopers in. That was the debut of them there as well. So maybe they're linked.
Interesting.
Maybe I'm reaching. Who knows?
Do
But I
we
think it's
see
something to sit on.
one
Mm.
other thing before we wrap up? Do we see Boba?
K2SO confirmed to be.
Do we see Boba Fett in the show?
I really hope we see Boba Fett.
That's what I was gonna that's what I was thinking too, Alec, like a minute ago, is since now we have Fennec Shand in the show and we have that, you know, criminal element in terms
Right.
of, gangs, cartels, the Huts,
Mhm.
potentially like all that element in the show a little bit now. I could totally see, I mean, how old would Boba be now? Still like
He'd be
16.
young.
he'd be like 18 or something. He would be
Yeah,
like
like 16, 18.
yeah, so he definitely would be a little aged up, and he could not be like that little kid model
Yeah,
anymore.
he wouldn't be the kid. He wouldn't be the
Right.
kid in Clone Wars, like that's for
Mm-mm.
sure. That we
Yeah,
see him in at that point. He'd be at least like a young adult, I think.
yeah. So
And nice shiny armor.
yeah, I would love to
Here's the
see.
thing: he's not gonna have the dope black cloak, and so I just kind of don't care.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Thick
He's
Boba.
not as cool as he looks in Mandalorian, and it's like I don't care at that point. You know, like whatever. I would really like to see him come there, especially since Boba Fett was part of the Kamino and Civil War in Battlefront 2 as well, and
Mhm.
so
Right.
That would be sick. Yeah,
he led the 501st on the in the game. So, which I don't even know if the 501st are canon anymore.
they are. They are.
Are they? Okay. I wasn't sure if Vader's fist was still around.
They are. It's a little bit different how they're formed to be Vader's like personal or not personal, but like his like
Like his like battalion or whatever,
yeah
his platoon.
Mhm.
yeah. But it's largely the same.
Yeah, because in old legends, like even after they started taking conscripted soldiers, the 501st were clones for a very very long time. Like he
Mhm.
kept them as clones and didn't change them, and that was why they were so effective. Um,
Right.
but I mean, yeah, they're very clearly phasing out clones quickly in new canon,
Mhm.
Mhm.
very
Tarkin don't
quickly.
like him.
Tarkin's got a thing against clones, man.
Well, the chip kind of messed him up, man. Like you saw in episode one, or the big episode where immediately after Order 60, like I don't know if you guys saw, but like when they're eating, like they were totally like more robotic with their eating, and even their interactions were like way more
Yeah,
Mhm.
aggressive with each other. Like
like they're yeah,
No
they
food
acted like
fight.
stormtroopers.
it changed, even though the the order isn't like active after all the Jedi are largely
Something's
killed.
changed in him. Yeah.
It permanently changed them.
Something, yeah, it altered them, and I liked like that first point when they're in the cafeteria as well, and they're kind of looking around and like, what's up with the regs? Like, why are they're weird now? Like, why are they
Mhm.
so weird?
Mm-hmm.
But I also something I liked about this, which was a comment that I saw, I believe, from Dave Filoni, that was kind of shared around like the day that like on May 4th when it debuted, which was they did their they made an obvious choice of after Order 66, anytime you see like regular clones, they're always just the solid white armor. They don't have any facial tattoos. All of the voices are the same. Like to really like hammer home is like, hey, they're not the
Right.
like the clones that you knew anymore.
Mhm.
It's like they're really showing like how tightened up that the Empire's becoming and really like make them look more like stormtroopers. And I thought that was such a cool, like nice little touch because I was looking around. I was like, yeah, they're much more uniform. They don't have like special haircuts. They don't have tattoos. Like they don't have any markings on their armor. Like they're all the exact same. And
Mhm.
it was interesting. I thought kind of removed the personality from the ones that are left.
Which,
Right.
quick speaking of personality and voice acting, like the dude
Steve
that
Bradley
does
Baker.
this, yeah, he is. How does he not have any awards? Like, he does all
Is
the
he
Bad
doing?
Batch.
Is he doing all the voices?
He's every
Yeah.
clone.
Dude, I made a mental note listening when I watched episode 4 today of like I was like, man, like they sound different. Like all the Bad Batch. I was like, is it the same guy that did all the clones in the
Yeah.
Clone Wars? Like, oh
D.
my
Bradley.
god.
Anytime there's a clone in anything that's essentially not like the main movies, it's D. Bradley Baker. Like he's in
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
games. It's him in every single show that has a clone in it. All the different twists and turns on that. That's all D. Bradley Baker. He's crazy good at it.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
wild because you can hear them and it's like you can. They all have distinct personalities and voices while also still sounding like each other. It's brilliant.
Mhm.
He's
Mhm.
so good.
Yeah.
But it's also it's funny to think that it's like the entire main cast is one dude talking to himself. You know,
Yeah.
It must be that's what I was thinking. It's like it must be cheap for the budget if you want to pay
yeah,
him.
Yeah.
right.
As
I'm
They
voice
just
acting
knocks
wise.
it out in a couple days. It's just
Yeah.
the one guy.
Him and Omega.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, who has a very thick New Zealand accent. Like, it
Oh,
is
yeah.
really exaggerated. It's fantastic though. I love the New Zealand. All right. Any final thoughts before we take off? Just show
Pl-
overall.
please remake Revenge of the Sith in the art style of Clone Wars.
Hot
Seeing
damn.
the
Oh, yeah.
first 10 seconds where they're recapping some Revenge of the Sith stuff, they show scenes done in in the Clone Wars aesthetic, especially at like during season 7 of Clone Wars 2. Like y'all already got like maybe a minute worth of footage. Just do the whole 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Please.
Like how
Also, shout out
the
to that intro as well. Getting the old like Clone Wars previously, and getting
Oh,
Tom
yeah.
Kane to do that one more time. That was very very cool. I
and
like
the
that touch.
logo
Yeah.
of Clone Wars dissolving away to Bad Batch.
Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sick.
Just more of a housekeeping kind of note that we're gonna be doing this in 4-episode batches. So next time
Yeah.
after
So
episode
yeah,
8,
this won't be next week. It'll be in a month.
Yep. 'Cause there's 16 total episodes.
16
so
total episodes, so we'll have 2 more of these.
this will be
So
5
it
through
ju-
8.
3 more.
next time.
Sorry, math.
So yeah,
3 more. I'm sorry.
it just lined up for us because with this show, like, I mean, so far, I mean, episode 2 is the only one that's kind of like not been crazy action,
Yeah.
I guess, but
Mhm.
Mhm.
we just were being cautious with the Clone Wars, where that the way that show was telling a story, and there'd be like a 2-episode Jar Jar Binks, arc. Like
Arc.
you just gotta be careful, so we just didn't want to like do a weekly show if it's like
Yeah,
filler.
it was also a thing too to where I mean, we had a couple people out. I took a short hiatus, like and we were just like the first one came out. The first 2 episodes came out in the same week as well, and the schedules didn't line up for us to record it, even though we had been talked about it for a little while. And we were gonna do it this previous weekend, but then we're like, well, next episode comes out in a few days. Like, let's just do it every 4. And then we're like, oh, there's 16 episodes, so we can take it in 4
Boom, boom,
chunks,
boom.
and instead of putting up 16 episodes of this, we can do 4 and
Mhm.
still hit I think all of the points that we would talk about anyway.
yeah.
4
Right.
regular size podcasts instead of 16 10 to
Yeah.
15 minute.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any final words, Brett, on the show? How do you like it so far? What do you think?
Yeah, I can't remember where I said this before, but the arc in the Clone Wars season 7 was okay. It didn't wow me. But I definitely was willing to give it a chance and wanted to see how it would shake out. And yeah, it's really blown away my expectations of how good I thought it would be. The characterization of the Bad Batch, Omega, the whole Republic to Empire stuff. It's just all fantastic. I love it.
Mhm. Yeah, that's kind of my final thoughts as well, because Brett and I are on the same page for a lot of stuff when it comes to Star Wars, except for the sequels. To where
I love them.
I you son of a bitch. Uh, uh, to where going into this show, like I was excited, like I enjoyed their debut arc in Clone Wars. It didn't it didn't like blow me away or anything, but I really liked it.
Mhm.
I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was cool, and especially like getting Echo back was fun. But when they announced that like, hey, we're making a whole show out of Bad Batch, I was like, cool, I like that. That's a neat concept, and they're like, it's gonna take place right after Order 66. I was like, even cooler, like that's rad, and that's only something I think we've really seen like canon wise, like in like Fallen Order. I think like that's not something that's been
Right.
Mhm.
explored too much yet. At least not from like a non Jedi perspective, which I really like.
Mm.
Um, but I wasn't like hype overload for the show, and then you know you watch that first episode, and it's like I think like you get that initial point of them getting on the ship, and then Crosshair like the door opens and he comes around the corner, and then all seeing him and realizing like what's about to happen, and just that sort of moment hit, and I was sitting there, I was like, damn, this show is good. I was like, oh my god, like this is really something special, and it's that sort of thing where every time I finish an episode, even if it's like episode 2, which didn't like blow me away, but like it still gives me that it's like it's Star Wars season is back. You know, we're here, we're in
Mhm.
it. Like this show is so much higher quality than I was expecting. Even though I was still like looking forward to it, I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I do. I think it's really tight. It's really well paced. It's really well written, and it's just gorgeous to look at. Like, oh my god, it's pretty. And yeah, I mean, it's just what's not to love about it, man. I'm having a blast. And then I have all the characters in Galaxy of Heroes now on the mobile game too. So I got the full Bad Batch,
Nice.
baby.
Nice.
Let's
So
go.
shout out to them for releasing those characters in the game on the day that the first episode came out. That was fun. But yeah,
Even
of course,
Omega.
no, no, you can't
She
use
did use a
Omega.
blaster. She did use a blaster.
You can't use Omega. Technically, I don't think when I say the full squad, technically Crosshair's not in the game yet.
Mm.
Damn.
Oh, they're probably
It's the main
waiting.
it's
Sure
the main
there's-
four. It's the main four, but I guarantee you they'll do an event that gives you
Oh
Crosshair.
yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Of course, this is the Waypoint, the one and only Star Wars show right here on the Waypoint podcast. If you liked this, maybe drop us a little subscribe. Maybe hit that button down there. You know what I mean? It don't cost you nothing.
This is a little smooch. Mhm.
Give us a little smooch on the cheek. Give me a hug. Give me a mouth hug. Get in there. You know what I mean? Get all up in us.
Kiss that like button.
Just embrace it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Give a little. If you like it a whole lot, maybe give it a little tongue action. You know, just slip it in there a little bit.
Yeah. Good soldiers follow orders, and your orders are to smash that motherfucking like button, hit the bell, subscribe. So go do that.
We'll see you next time.